The difference between planning for a war and fighting a war. So I call this the bell. It's just a different image. I make a lot of them. Most of them I don't make videos of, but I do really love this image. The bell. And what it's meant to represent is the red, the sweet bell pepper, the red, sweet bell pepper, the sweet red bell pepper, the bell pepper, red and sweet, the bell, red and sweet, the red bell pepper. Because if I were holding a red pepper in my hand, which I'm not at this moment, I got a couple downstairs, a few in the fridge, one on the stairs. Bell. B-E-L-L. Bell. Right? Dong, 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 dong. For whom the bell tolls. Yeah. Who's the bell toll for? All of us. It's not the end of time. It's the end of times. What time? You gonna die, 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 you gonna die. And then I look back through history. You're dead, 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 you're dead. I look into the future. Those born after I'm gone. To the future we all look to. Y'all motherfuckers still. You're dead, you're dead. Sorry to be like that about it. I'm putting up a front to protect myself. I'm speaking in the mythos to protect us from the logos. Sometimes we do it the other way around. Depends what we're talking about, in what situation, and why. The bell. Dong, dong, dong. But of course, I'm a sneaky sort. Not really. So I put that E at the end. The Francois bell. Beauty. Beauty will save us. The red bell pepper will save us. Not only will it save us, it is the will of wills. The fruit from the flower of the field. I've broken down the symbol in my own mind and a little bit on my channel. A little bit on my channel I've broken down the 10,000-year-old hidden secret of Queen Anne's lace. It's a 10,000-year-old migratory lineage of thought that has reached just about everywhere in the world. That reaches back to what we these days call Turkey, which only a few days ago added an I officially in international law. Turkey added an I to its official English language transliteral phonetic depiction. What does it change? Everything. Because all of a sudden, the I and the Y are entwined. The I and the Y are entwined officially in international law. This will only make sense if you do a very, 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 very deep study. And if this doesn't make any sense at all to you, just wait, I'll get beyond it. Don't worry. I'll start making sense and common notions in a minute. But for those quote-unquote alchemists, keep it in mind, and there are a few who already know what I'm saying. But anyway, the fact that Turkey officially, in the English language, phonetic alliteration, that it has declared in symbol, in visual and phonetic symbol, that it has declared an I exists with the Y in Turkey. As much as there's so much shit going on today. There's so much shit going on today. But symbolically, the fact that in the mathematics, in so much as I and Y are associated with each other, because we have the XI and we have the XY. But then we have the XIY. Well, do we even need a Z? Now, if we're thinking in 3 dimensions, we think XYZ. But speaking in common, in contemporary common notions of maths, XIY already creates a 3-dimensional grid. It's just not a Cartesian 3-dimensional grid. So, like, yeah, Descartes was lazy, great. And in his laziness, he found a great treasure, great. So, even though I myself have harshed upon Descartes, like, we can't take anything away from Descartes. Descartes was fucking amazing. But Simpo or Cinco or Simpo or pseudo-Cinco contemporaneously. Pascal, with or without the H, or Paschal, or pastoral. The mystery precedes the revelation.
That was easy.
The bell, the beauty, I wouldn't say transliterated, but laterally, lattice, lateral, lats, laterally literated, instead of transliterated, laterally literated. Belly. The bell, the belly. Do we have a fire in the belly? The bell. the belly, the ring, the tone, the harmony. Imagine this. The bell, the belly, the beauty, in the ball jar, in the bale jar, the bale, the bailiff. The bread. I'm really sorry about that. I'm very nonchalant about my, essentially my downfall. I'm very nonchalant about my downfall. The bread, the wine, the incense, the oracle. Imagine this, right? They just put an I next to the Y in Turkey. The Eastern American wild turkey and Queen Anne's lace are a 10,000-year-old hidden treasure of symbolism that has been sown through the entire world. All great structures and all great myths point back to the Eastern American wild turkey and Queen Anne's lace, which is the wild carrot, otherwise known as the bird's nest flower, a biennial, which resurrects in the second year as a flower, but not in the first year. The wild carrot is not as the domesticated carrot. It is a living symbol that has been hidden between the lines, all lines. For 10,000 years, both of them. The new living symbol that is revealed, and I haven't even got to the historicity of it, but it's been revealed clear as a bell, as a ball, as a bell, as a ball. The sweet red bell pepper. Again, I have a couple downstairs. I feel a little embarrassed for not using one, but you can use your imagination, right? A bell pepper.
That was easy.
The sweet red bell pepper is. It's the sweet savor of the Third Testament. What is the Third Testament? I was listening recently to Bishop Michael Curry of the Episcopalian Church. There's a lot of Anglican, Episcopalian branches and so on, but we'll just leave it at that. But when he talks about the Jesus movement, and when others in his lineage of thought, mind, soul, spirit speak of what he calls the Jesus movement, he said something really great, which we should all remember. Anybody who gives their heart at all to Christ, whenever two gather in my name. So, when Matt, the 10-minute Bible guy, right, there's this dude, the 10-minute Bible hour, Matt from the 10-minute Bible hour, and then there's Matt Fradd of Pints with Aquinas, right? They actually gathered together once, and it was a fury of theology. A beautiful. It's like the two of them danced in the eye of the tornado. Matt Fradd and Matt, the 10-minute Bible guy. Bible hour guy. Beautiful. A Franciscan and a free churchin. You can't make this shit up. Beautiful. They danced in the eye of the tornado. But anyway, when two gather together in my name, right? The way Episcopalian Bishop Michael Curry said it was that the Episcopalian Church, right, is that they are the Episcopalian branch of the Jesus movement. Who's the trunk? Jesus. What is every kind of Christianity? Branches. There are 30,000. Last I checked, which was 10 years ago, there were 30,000 like registered Christian denominations, names, denominations from having been named. And we, as Christians, harsh on. We, Christians, harsh on. The Hindu, the Hindi, the Hindu, the Hindi, for their 3 million gods. To a rabbit. Rabbi, to a rabbit, what's the difference between 3,000 and 3 million? I'm trying to remember in that book, Watership Down, what they call the 1,000. I remember they called their god El Herrera, I believe. But anyway, to those rabbits, much as to the numeric symbology of the Old Testament and the New, to an extent, the word 1,000 means almost infinity, a finite infinity. What El Herrera means in the novel Watership Down is essentially a watered-down version or a description to a finer or smaller resolution of the Norman J. Wildbergian Z, which is the English language, though Australian, equivalent of the omega. A finite point so large in number that we associate it with infinity. Does infinity exist? Yes. Where and how? Is infinity the water that God hovered over? The deep that God hovered over? Said no. There was only God, and there was only the deep. There was only God, and there was only the deep. The moment that God became the I am, that's all it took to make God God. There was no individual among individuals. Every individual that has or will ever exist existed first undifferentiated in the deep. Some people say, God, the unmoved mover. Well, then other people say, no, God is being itself. We are all souls. Because I respect everything that there's this thrust, especially within the Catholic Church. Thank you, Peter. Thank you, Peter, you illiterate, smelly fisherman. You illiterate stinky. How did Peter smell? He smelt of the waters. He smelt of the seaweeds and the earthweeds. He smelt of the dirt. He smelt of the clay. How did Peter smell? He smelt of the fish, the guts, the stink, the stank. That's Peter. Why was he the rock? Why was he the... Why did Abraham, why did he... Okay, we'll bring it up to Moses. Why was the law of that day to slay upon the stone not touched by the hands of man? The covenant, which is a slippery object. The covenant is a slippery object because its rules are described before its letter of the law is spoken and written, and then exceeds from there. And we pretend like it doesn't progress. We poor souls. But anyway, the Passover sacrifice, so to speak, condensed, is to be made when we slay that fucking baby lamb. It is meant to be slain upon the uncarved stone. How is Peter that stone? Why did Jesus build his church, right? And of course we call Peter, Saint Peter, right? Now, if you could transport yourself back in time right now to Peter and you said, Saint Peter, I adore you. He definitely, right? He definitely deny you in a way bigger way than he denied Jesus for a moment. He'd deny you forever. Calling him Saint Peter. His name was what? Cephas? Cephas. Cephas. You go up to Cephas. Cephas. You go up to him and you call him Saint Peter. And he's just like, this motherfucker's nuts. Or at least that's one way of conjecturing in rational contemplation, while gently coalescing with, not stirring, not prodding, but coming into a kind of slow communion with the mythos, or with the mother. The mother who's good at sewing a yarn, telling a story. The bell. the belly, the beauty. Imagine. It's a thought experiment. Are we not allowed to tell stories while being rational and reasonable? Every stroke. Every stroke. The sweet bell pepper, red. The red, sweet bell pepper. The sweet red bell pepper. The pepper. The bell pepper, red and sweet. The truth has a certain ring to it. What is the forbidden fruit? What do snakes, serpents and dragons eat? The belly. Use your imagination. Because we know that particles can be, and especially maybe subatomic particles or electrons, point particles, right? Well, this is a really good question because we consider an electron a particle. We don't necessarily normally in conversational parlance consider electrons subatomic, yet they're, well, according to Garrett Lisi, at least according to him, they're point particles, which was the funniest point of his TED Talk when the TED Talk dude asked him how big they were, and he's like, well, they're a point particle, which means they're not big at all, but they move. So they're an infinitesimal, they're not a point. An electron is a point particle, it's not a point. It's a point particle, so it's an